we go.
Sometime I need to figure out why it's car key. You probably know.
No, but we used to have fun kidding her about losing our car key.
Maybe that's where it's from.
Good morning, Miss Carol. How are you?
Which is a skill that my wife also has.
Losing her car keys?
Yeah, we just leave them in the car and just leave the car open wherever we go. And she wants to do that in like Salt Lake City, Utah. And I'm like, no. If you leave that car open, it'll be gone so fast.
Some good Mormon will liberate that thing from you.
That'll be gone so fast it'll make your head spin. Good morning, Carol. Isn't it great to see him back in his chair? Back in the back. You're like Captain Kirk sitting there like.
Beam me up, Scotty. Oh no, wait a minute, I'm already here.
You're already there. You set the course to screensaver 2.
Or speed 2. I can't think of his name.
Who? William Shatner?
No, who the guy Sulu. When he said speed 2 Sulu or full speed ahead or whatever he said.
Back in the saddle chair.
Yeah, that's what I need, the saddle chair.
I always told every helicopter pilot I ever flew with, which I flew with a bunch of them for way too many hours. I always told them, I'm like, why don't you build me a seat over here? It's a saddle, because you can't grab a hold of nothing when you're doing whoop-de-doos and spinning around, and I was always reaching for something. There's nothing to reach for, and I'm like, just build me a saddle, then I can just grab a hold with my knees, and I won't have to worry about it. and they just laugh at me and like, well, you sissy. Your seatbelt will hold you. And I'm like, well, I don't feel like it is. But.
Trust in your seatbelt. That, although I can only imagine what that'd be like. I mean, I've never chased birds and critters up and down over. That was a thrill I never had. But
so if you're like in a Hughes 500, which is a Loach from Vietnam, right, and it's a sports car of a little helicopter. I mean, it's a quick little. You can turn on a dime and give you 9 cents change kind of a helicopter.
For reference, that's a helicopter that they used in Magnum PI. That was a
Loach. Yeah, and I flew hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in those little devils, and that was my least favorite of all the helicopters I ever flew. And I flew in Hillers, which were MASH helicopters. Those old MASH helicopters, I flew in those a bunch, and I flew in Jet Rangers a bunch, and I flew in the Hughes 500 a bunch. And the Hughes, it was probably the most maneuverable and most, I don't know, powerful or not, but it was quick.
Well, they're a smaller. I mean, they're intentionally built for speed. They used to be the fastest thing out. They really were the sports car, and they kind of still are in a way because they're small. But some of the new stuff they built for the military is faster than.
Oh, I'm sure that the big military ships are quicker now, but it was. It just turns. I mean, it was so maneuverable. It was like riding a cutting horse or something. It was so quick. That's the only aircraft I ever flew in that made me ill.
I can
And I
see.
didn't get ill in the aircraft, but I got ill on the ground when I told the guy, "You need to land right now," and he did.
Well, those things, helicopters. Some people have a more aversion to a helicopter as far as air sickness goes because of it's got something to do with the gyroscopics of the whole thing and how it works. And good morning, Miss Diana. And Hughes is worse about that because of just how tight and compact everything is hanging right there on the. You're hanging on the.
Yeah, you spin so fast that it's like, whoa, like don't do that anymore. But we would be like, classifying a herd of 1,500 elk, and you couldn't just roll through them and count them and classify, bulls, cows, calves. You had to cut smaller herds out and push them away, and then go back to the big group and cut another bunch out and push them away. And it was that was always tricksy for me when I was doing that kind of work. That in a Hughes, it was okay if I was in a Jet Ranger, but a Hughes was a little tricky to me.
Well, it's kind of like it
And
is.
those guys were just like, woo, they were
Those
all
guys.
they were all Vietnam vets
That's what I was going to say.
that
Most guys
had flown Loaches in Vietnam.
I grew up around and worked around almost exclusive. In fact, I only knew back then, I only knew one civilian trained helicopter pilot. All the other helicopter pilots that I knew, and there's
I don't think I ever met one.
They were all, well, he was the only one, and all the rest of them were.
All the guys that I flew with were all military pilots, and I'm like, were you at war? Heck yeah, I was at war. And I'm like, well, you can fly me wherever you want to. And I might get scared or not feel too good, but I know you're going to get me home safe.
Yeah, that's good to have faith.
I did fly with a guy one time. It was getting pretty bumpy. We were classifying elk, and he was like, "It's getting pretty bumpy, boys." Me and my game warden, and I'm like, "You're the pilot, dude. He's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "You're the pilot. If it's not safe, then you do what you need to do." And he, which cost us money if we had to quit early. And he said, "Well, it's getting a little hairy up here," and me and the game warden could certainly tell it was. And he just he like left ruddered that thing, and we rolled around and headed back towards the airport to the southeast. And we were going across the foothills and flats from the mountain, heading back toward the airport. And he said, "This is as fast as I've flown in a helicopter ever in my life by like 40 knots. And I'm like, cool. Because the wind was blowing us so hard,
Right. Let's go pull something up on that. I'm trying to. Yeah, there's things.
She knows some helicopter pilots, and they're all crazy and serious.
Well, they're a different breed.
I'll
tell you that.
They're nuts, but brave men. Probably brave women too. I never flew with a woman pilot, but I flew with a lot of Vietnam vets, a pile of them, and they were great men. I loved flying with them when it wasn't bad. And we weren't like, well, maybe we'll crash here.
TVA had a couple of female fact, they had a head pilot, a chief pilot for a while. I think was female. And I know she flew helicopters and fixed wing, but I never flew. We weren't flying, doing bird counts and things when I got there. That stuff had all ended.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But she was, I missed all the fun stuff.
Yeah, you did.
I hear the boys talk about getting down on the lakes in the lower areas along the Tennessee, like in Alabama, and running wide open across the lake in an airboat with 2 shotguns in the seat, strapped to the seat. And they were out there doing bird surveys.
We'd had to do waterfowl counts every year down in my district. I had the North Platte River running through it, which was a big waterfowl area.
Right.
And I hated those flights the worst of all of them. I'd get in a dang fixed wing airplane and fly down the river towards Nebraska, and you'd be going underneath power lines and over bridges and under another power line and and it was just like hopping the whole flight, and
up and down, in and out.
and you were like 50 feet off the deck, and I was supposed to count ducks while that was happening. And I can tell you that date is suspect.
Well, yeah.
It's just like, well, okay, there's like 1,000 birds in front of me, and I'm supposed to tell how many of them are mallards and how many of them are golden eyes and how many of them are whatever. And the pilot's doing his best not to kill us at the same time. And I hated those flights.
That's mainly what they did. Well, let me back up. TVA still uses helicopters in their power line maintenance and stringing power lines across valleys. I think TVA, I almost want to say they perfected that process, but I could be wrong. They're stringing power lines over great expanses, in the air. I mean, where there's no bottom. But before I got there, that's what they did, a lot of eagle counts.
Yeah.
And then waterfowl surveys. And that's mainly what
our waterfowl surveys are not. They're not. Those surveys were designed just much like pronghorn counts, line transect pronghorn surveys are designed specifically to make biologists vomit in an airplane. That was their main goal. Like, hey, let's do this, and that'll be cool for those guys. And anyway.
Well, if anybody in here gets car sick or has motion sickness, that most of the time, if you're driving, it's not as bad, or it doesn't even bother you. But when you're sitting, so same thing kind of goes in an airplane when you're sitting in the other seat or in the back. God Almighty, I hated the back. But if you're not the one driving, then
then you're gonna get sick.
You're gonna get sick.
You're at least gonna feel poorly through the whole survey, that's not conducive to good counting.
No.
One of my game wardens used to he would make it about an hour, and then he would vomit, and then he would immediately go to sleep. And I'm not hearing anything from the back seat. I'm not hearing any counts from the back seat.
Which one was that? Who was that?
Joe Gilbert. And he never quit going up. He never once said, "Oh, I can't make it today," or whatever. He never let me down on going. But he did not. He could listen to. So we used to collect data on a tape recorder. Yeah, we had these little tiny tape recorders, and you just talk into it the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
Here's a group of antelope. It's got, there's, and what we would say is like buck, buck, doe, 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 fawn, fawn, doe, 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 doe. And so you're classifying these herds of pronghorn, and we could go to his house and play the tape, and he'd get sick all over again. No kidding. That's a no kidding deal.
And that's an audio tape, not even a.
It's just an audio tape. And he would like just the sound of the airplane and the stall buzzer going off constantly, and which always have you're stalling.
Check this out.
What? Those are gorditas, man. Where you at?
I'm right here. Unfortunately, Phil's been in New Mexico.
Oh, that's he found them.
Yeah, he I don't know. I'm not sure where he's at today. He was
Well, he was in Texas yesterday, I thought.
well, that's that. I don't know when he posted. He posted this, but he might have done it a day or two ago. He just posted it last night. He could have been edge of Texas. I don't know, but
Well, only down to about Van Horn, and then you run out of Gordita country.
I mean,
Pretty quickly you leave Gordita country, but I bet he was between Van Horn and Las Cruces, or he stopped in Las Cruces, or he sent me a deal like that. These aren't Gorditas, but they sure were good. Some kind of, he and his sister had stopped somewhere in Texas, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, she drove out with him, and I say that, and maybe he picked her. No, he picked her up at home. They live in Kentucky again, and his sister and her husband. Anyway, he picked her up. She drove out there with him because she wanted to do some photography along with her. She's got her a new camera, and but he's riding back by himself. So, and he is.
She's not with him on the way.
He's traveling. It's him and his pony right now.
He's doing his Phil thing.
He's supposed to be in San Angelo, Texas tonight. So he left. So he would have been. Yeah, he would have been in Cruces yesterday or last night.
Yeah. So he had Gorditas.
So he
probably went to the restaurant we went to.
Yeah, I hope so.
I could take you there by feel, but I can't remember the name of the place or anything. But I could drive you there right now to the spot. But
Tina, I don't know if I said good morning, but good morning. And Diana, I don't know if I think I said hi to you, but I'm not sure. And who else am I missing here? Is that it? Chuck, if you're out there listening, good morning.
Tina's talking about being retired and like, I didn't work as hard when I was working. That's a fact.
Funny how that works.
That's how I found it to be. And
I don't think I've talked to anybody.
I accomplish a lot less and make a lot less money, but I work harder.
It's a whole different job dynamic, that's for sure.
And it wasn't to my liking for a long time, so I had a hard time with retirement. But
well, it's a big shift.
One of those dumb people that put too much energy into what I did as who I was. Yeah. That'd be a good topic someday.
Yeah.
But not today.
But not today.
Because we're going to talk about fun stuff.
We have another thing today. We have another topic today, and I guess I should get on with the topic. And this is part of that topic, for example.
I
love that cover.
Monarch the Big Bear.
And look how he signed his put his initials on there.
Yeah. I see it.
And that's one of his drawings, of course. And so what we're talking about is a gentleman by the name of Ernest Thompson Seton, which you have heard here before, I'm sure. And we'll get to that. I haven't got my stuff opened up yet, but so let me do that right now.
I'm not leaving.
Okay, don't leave.
I'm just stepping to the side for a second.
Well, I'll try to have it lined up on the screen when you get back. Guess it would help if I got on the right.
My beautiful bride is about ready to set sail on some big old boat.
Well, tell everybody where your bride is.
Well, I mean, I call it a big old boat because it doesn't really look to me. They don't look like ships. They don't look like ships are supposed to look like ships. But
they look top heavy to me.
They look way too tall. Hopefully, there's a lot of keel under the water.
Yeah,
but they're way too tall. And there are entirely too many human beings on board, which is why I'm not there. There's like 2,500 people that are not counting crew on the boat. And they're at Fort Lauderdale and getting ready to. My wife and my 2 older daughters and all their children are loading up on a boat as we speak and heading off to sea with the mouse.
Yeah, they're taking a Disney cruise. Where'd you say they were going?
I have no idea. And they didn't either. And I'm like, well, that's pretty stupid. I would know exactly where that whole trip went.
They didn't give you a map to take with you?
You ain't going to the Bermuda Triangle or somewhere cool, because that's right off of east of Lauderdale.
They don't have a map. They don't have
a map. They didn't have any information whatsoever.
Well, how do they expect
including my youngest son-in-law, who is way too much like me. And I sent them off on their fare thee well yesterday morning. I said, "You poor bastard." And he goes, "I am not going to have a good time. I can tell already."
Well, he can if he just relaxes and rides.
And if he just like focuses on his kids having fun. So I gave my middle daughter orders. My wife works too hard and she's always thinking about work, and she was planning on doing work in the evenings while she was on the daggone boat. And I told my middle daughter, like, would you please ensure that she doesn't do any work and just has a good time?
Yeah.
But she knew, she gave me the gift of freedom.
And she gave you
she knew it was way not going to be my scene, and she said, if you would like to go, we'll go together, but I know you don't want to go without even asking you.
Morning, Dave. Welcome in.
And I was like, well, I appreciate that. So I'm choring animals and having a good time here at home and not worrying about
what they're doing there.
Some cruise. We're going to do one maybe next summer down in the Baja for Nat Geo for whales and white sharks. So I'll be way more into that.
Yeah, now that one I could probably do. That or go to Alaska and get to see some cold water species. One of you guys may know. I don't know if anybody here's been on a cruise, but they were supposed to leave out of Fort Lauderdale. I don't know if all the boats down there go. Some of Disney stuff used to leave out of Cocoa Beach. So
Well, the kids planned this trip, and they did like 14 dozen like flights from here to there and here to there, and then got to Miami and had like Uber take them to Fort Lauderdale, which was a disaster. And they've already had many adventures that did not need to happen. They could have flown right there. And then it's they got to either walk a mile or take another Uber to the boat today.
they're probably already on board.
I don't think so. I just talked to my wife about just before we started. And they hadn't left the motel yet or the hotel. But it was a good old fashioned. They didn't even have coffee in the room. They didn't have there was no coffee left down at the continental, quote unquote, continental breakfast. And all they had were like hard old muffins from a week ago. And I said, why in the name of all that is holy did you stay at a roach motel? But I hopefully you didn't get bit by bed bugs.
I picked them. I'm looking at the chatter here. There's who's got no coffee? I got coffee. Or did you just say that?
They didn't have coffee at the motel. None.
Oh! I was reading
Zero. They had no coffee in their rooms. You know how they always give you a couple like cheapo packs of coffee in the room?
Yeah.
You can make it yourself and then go down and get better coffee. They didn't have any in the room, and they didn't have any at the continental breakfast. None.
That's odd.
And my wife is not happy.
I bet not.
She appreciates her coffee of a morning.
I bet she's not happy. I got a weird thing going on here with window size. I can't see. There it is. You can see the bottom of my screen. Or not my screen, but window. So let's see here. I hadn't missed anybody.
Look at that. Look at that.
Tina's been on an Alaska cruise, she said. It was beautiful but cold. Carol says we went on a big red boat, the precursor to Disney Cruise Lines, in '92. We left from Port Canaveral. Yeah, that's Port Canaveral. That's where most of them are leaving out of.
Where's Port Canaveral?
Port
Canaveral?
Yeah, well, it's Cocoa Beach area. That's what they call.
Is that west side or east side? I don't know Florida at all.
East. They're east. They're on the east side too. They're just a little further south. Well, they're maybe 300. Hell, they may be 300 miles south. I'm not sure how far it is from there.
They had to drive up. They had to go all the way to Fort Lauderdale. So I know that's where they're sailing out of. Would you go away? Go on.
And she went on a Princess cruise.
Yeah.
I remember the big red boats, Carol. Was that Carnival? Who ran those? If you remember, I don't know. Well, anyway, if you saw the thumbnail, you'll notice that I didn't put anything up here in what we were going to talk about in the teepee because I got in a big hurry and forgot last night. Because I got in a big hurry, but I did this late. But these are a couple of pictures that'll come back later in the story. But this is a portrait of Mr. Thompson Seton, whatever. Ernest Thompson Seton, ETS is what I prefer to use. But that's
what he died as and was buried as. Right. Ernest Thompson Seton, even though his name originally was Ernest Thompson.
Yeah, Ernest Evan Thompson was his birth name. I got that information right here just in a minute. Right here. His name at birth was Ernest Evan Thompson. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. And he was born August 14th. I did not realize it, Brenda. He shares a birthday with our youngest child. Holy crap.
Serious?
Yeah, Kelly's born
Kelly
August 14th.
is August 14.
Ellie's August 14th. Damn, I just now noticed that. It just clicked. Well, I'll have to tell her because she'll be as excited as I am, I'm sure. He passed away in 1946. And
at the age of 86.
Huh?
At the age of 86.
Yeah, at the age of 86. He was born in England, but he lived much of his life in Canada, although he was never, came out later in his life for I can't remember now what the particular position or what he was doing, but it came out that, I know, it was about the scouting, Boy Scouts of America movement, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. He was never a Canadian citizen. He was never naturalized there. Although I don't know how that works. I was thinking that one of his mom or his dad lived in Canada before, but anyway, they moved to Canada, and then he moved to the U.S. and I lost my place. Okay, he was American. He was English, Canadian, and American author, wildlife artist, founder of the Woodcraft Indians in 1902, which was in Canada.
And in Northeast U.S.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, he started it in Canada.
Right.
And he was one of the founding pioneers of the Boy Scouts of America in 1910. Now, Boy Scouts started in England in 1908, I think, but BSAs were here. And I thought I like this quote. It says, "Because I have known the torment of thirst, I would dig a well where others may drink." ETS. And that's a reference to his writings and his books and his library and all that.
Yeah, and he was when he was a boy, he was hungry for knowledge about wild things.
Yeah.
And there was limited knowledge and limited availability to what there was published. So he wanted to know the name of a bird, for instance, and there was no way to find out that info. Think about that. Like, I'd sure like to know what that critter is, but there is absolutely zero information on what that critter is.
Yeah, unless you dove into the world of academia, there weren't people that studied stuff like that much back then.
Or wrote popular publications that, like the Birds of Canada or the Birds of the U.S. You couldn't find those documents. They didn't exist.
They didn't exist.
Or were so rare that you couldn't get your hand, Audubon obviously had done wonderful works, but you basically had to be a wealthy person to get a hold of a copy of that stuff. So, and he was not.
Yeah, it wasn't. They weren't just commonplace.
And Mike just popped in.
Well, look at him. First thing he wants to know is where's the donuts?
We ain't talking donuts today.
No, and besides that, you were supposed to bring them. So you don't know where they are.
Mike was the assignee for the donut bringing, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Tina says we saw otters once and whales a couple of times, and that was it. And she was looking a lot. We did an excursion to see the sled dogs. Sled dogs are nuts. I knew, Carol, I remember that. I knew somebody had cruises before Disney Cruise Line with characters on board. I think it was all part of the experiment to see if they wanted to get into that line of work, I suspect. Hey, John, welcome in. Yeah, well, you heard Mike ask who's got the donuts. You didn't What you didn't hear was Mike come in and say, "Hey, everybody, look here, I've got donuts. Who wants one?" Tina said she just ate one. Oh, but it was stale. Sure, blame it on the Canadian. Well, why not?
Excuse me.
Tina is talking about it. She went on a part of her excursion with the sled dogs, and she said they pulled us on a wheel cart. I've seen those carts. They practice with those, train with them. Man, don't get in their way if they're if they get harnessed up and you say go, you better not get in their way. They're going to run you down because those dogs, they live to run. I mean, that's just what they do. And John's here. Did you see
that's
John?
Like the bull's born to buck.
Yeah.
And they love bucking cowboys off.
I put two portraits here of Ernest. Because I guess because every time I look at him, I think of one of the Marx brothers or something. He looks like Harpo.
Yeah, or a crazy Einstein. I mean, he was he was a bit of a recluse and it's always been interesting to me that he was so involved in Boy Scouts and, teaching kids and all that. And he was a little bit of a odd personality, if you will.
Oh, John, that doesn't sound like a good deal either. So are you going fishing or are you done?
Just got in like a parking lot at the beach, elbow to elbow fishing, not my kind of fun. Just like I wasn't going to go on that big old boat with my wife.
Mark couldn't figure out where the fishing rods were on that big boat. He wasn't going. Looks like his hair back.
Looks like his hair in 76.
No, I was going to read a little bit more here about Ernest. And I put that picture in there because his hair. They say
as he was an older gentleman.
Yeah, this information came out of the websites dedicated to him now for the museum and stuff, which I've got a couple of pictures here in a minute. This says that he wrote over 40 books. They don't say exactly. And I think that's probably because there were some books that came out after he passed away that his daughter finished up, and at least one of his daughters was also an author and an artist, but I don't know much about her beyond some stuff she did in a couple of his books or his later books. I've got at least one of those books here that she was involved in. Anyway, it says countless articles in major magazines that from what I've read, this guy was very prolific with the pencil and paper. He wrote a lot of stuff and did a lot of studies and was involved in, even though he wasn't, like a paid naturalist or a wildlife biologist for anybody. He was involved in a lot of studies and different things, a lot of them on his own, but he was very good at it.
But I mean, Manitoba hired him.
Yeah.
To go learn about the species of northern Manitoba.
Well, I've got a picture of something here in a minute that's got that on it. He was a popular lecturer, which back in that time period, lecturing was one way to an academic guy can make money. He learned how to, replicate bird sounds and animal sounds with his voice. They talk about his artistic skill depicting wildlife, especially birds and mammals. He studied animals extensively, producing the classic work Lives of Game Animals, essentially an 8-volume illustrated encyclopedia covering North American mammals. And I've got one or two of those books. but I'd like to have
Don't
that.
be using that hand.
I'd like to have that.
Stop it.
I'll tell my wife you were in here trying to keep me straight on that.
You were reaching over there to grab a hold of a big old heavy book.
Yeah, I was.
A tome.
And these are heavy.
I know.
Because
I have a couple of them myself.
yes, you do.
Don't be grabbing them books with that left hand.
I've got volume 5 of that set, and I think I've got one more. Let's see where he was a well-known advocate for indigenous rights. Started in Canada and was also in the U.S. He started the Woodcraft League, and he was a co-founder of the Scouts, charter member of the Campfire Club of America, which is kind of an interesting story too. The American Bison Society. He was involved with other wildlife and wilderness conservation organizations. Says Seton's philosophy of respect for nature and humanity made him a pioneer of the environmental movement, inspiring generations of leaders. So he was a very busy fellow. I was going to pull up something else because I was going to read a little bit about his early life. And we've talked about his name a little bit, and here's one of the reasons why, or I guess the reason why, or part of the reason why he changed his name, and why it was a little confusing there for a while. Like I said, he was born in England. Oh, his parents were Scottish, and they migrated to what they call British North America in 1866. So he was only 6 years old when they came to Canada. I can't see the screen, so Mike, you guys know where? I just read it. Lindsay, Canada is. They were known to live in some other places, I guess, around. They bounced around a little bit there before they ended up down this way.
I think he lived in Ontario mostly.
Yeah.
And then
he did go back to England to study art. He was in the Royal Academy in London.
Yeah, but I think they lived in southern Ontario and you know, like Two Little Savages is semi-autobiographical. He did get sent to a farm somewhere out there in kind of central Ontario in the bush to, you know, get healthy or whatever.
Yeah. His story was a little bit like Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that was a common practice in those days.
Yeah, I think that was something
and he ended up, Mike was asking where he went to in Manitoba, and I think he was in northern Manitoba, Mike, and might have even gone into Saskatchewan and that part of the world.
Yeah,
in his survey, they hired him to do wildlife surveys up there and describe the critters that lived up there and figure out where they lived and how they lived and all that stuff. He was good at that kind of stuff. So,
and he went, like I said, he had a scholarship to go to. He also went to the Academy Julian in Paris in 1893 and 94. And he was selected as an associate member of the Royal Canadian Academy of Arts. Well, on his 21st birthday, he walked in to see his father, or his father called him in for a meeting, and his father handed him an invoice for all the expenses connected with his childhood and youth, including the fee charged by the doctor who delivered him. In other words, his dad wanted to be repaid for every time he had ever spent.
What a peach.
What?
What a peach.
What a peach.
Or SOB.
According to one writer, he paid the bill, but he never spoke to his father again, which is possible. In his autobiography, Trail of an Artist Naturalist, the autobiography of Ernest Thompson Seton, he discusses the incident in more detail. But since he hadn't a cent of money, he could not have paid his father. I'm sure he did. I think he had to work it off. It eventually did pay him off. But he never had anything to do with his dad again. And I can just imagine my dad handing me a bill.
Like, here's how much you owe me.
Okay, yeah, and here's some itemized information about when you were born. This is what you owe the doctor and the anesthesiologist for your mom and all, and blah, blah. I mean, my mouth would have been on the floor, I'm quite sure.
And then you'd like turn around like, okay, here's how much I work for free for you.
Yeah. Here's my bill.
Here's my bill back to you. Back
and
at
here's what you would have. And just to be fair, I wrote down the labor rates of what they were, average in that time for other people, not your son. Okay, Mike, he ended up living in Carberry, Manitoba. Any idea where Carberry is? Because he had another brother who lived up there. And so that's how he ended up there. And he in 1991 or 1891, he published The Birds of Manitoba and was appointed provincial naturalist by the government of Manitoba.
Are you advancing slides, brother?
No, I was just right at the moment I'm reading off something else.
Oh, okay.
I just threw that up. I just left that picture up there just since it had a little bit of history there, and I was reading some history from a different
sources
to get a little bit more information about the man. He changed his name. That's when he changed his name to Ernest Thompson Seton. Although initially he changed it to Ernest Seton Thompson Thompson, but that didn't stop. Now, and I just realized, Mark, I've got I think I've got 3 of my books are under the Seton-Thompson.
Under his Seton-Thompson name?
Yeah, and I was counting them earlier. And now I'm reading on the spines. I don't see them, but I've got at least 3 that are under that moniker. Like this one, for example, this copy of Biography of a Grizzly, which is kind of a cool copy, cool old book you might see there. I don't want anybody sneaking in here and steal my Seton books now. But this one, he was still going by Seton-Thompson. And when I first really started collecting his books, that confused the crap out of me until I finally figured out what was going on.
Yeah, it was. Good morning, Brenda.
It was my wife here?
Yeah, she is.
Well, good morning, Brenda.
But it was confusing.
It was.
I had a professor when I first started wildlife school that talked about Ernest Seton-Thompson. And I was a smart ass kid that had grown up with that man and said, that'd be Ernest Thompson Seton, sir. And he's like, yeah, whatever.
Thanks, Tina.
Bill Perini was his name, and he told me, he's like, put me in my place. And he said, maybe you should learn more about the man. And so I did. I mean,
So you did, and you found out.
And he became one of my mentors. The professor did, and he was like, he hired me to do tutoring for bird identification and all kind of stuff and that. in my 2 years in Ohio. And yeah.
Well, now wait a minute here. I got to backtrack and chat just a minute here. I'm apparently getting in all kinds of trouble.
Well, you were getting in trouble just because you were using that daggone hand to pick up them big old books.
Okay.
And Tina was going to find who your doctor was and tell on you.
Oh, is that right? Well, he's so busy he won't have time to stop and get the message. Brenda says she has to get on me all the time about what. Yeah, I'm a 67-year-old man. I've been using both of these hands
your entire life
for 67 years. It's hard not to. This one don't work right. I have to use my other hand to lift it, and this one I can't grab nothing with. So, and when I do, I get in trouble. Hey, Mike. God, this is not Tell on Tim Day here. Let's see what we can get. Let's see if we can get.
Tim ate all the donuts. I didn't see him ever show up.
Thank you. Thank you.
I never saw one. Mike was scheduled to bring them. I never saw one. No, I don't have any here.
Yeah, we're all thinking Mike was supposed to bring them, and then he starts telling tales in school here about me taking them.
You got to bear with me. I got a little epizooty, so.
Yeah, well, that's all right. So these three gentlemen right here are the three that kind of founded the Boy Scouts of America. Seton was, he kind of was the guy that pushed for it to come over here to the North American continent. Well, probably was in Canada because Baden-Powell may have lived in Canada too by that time. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if he did or not, but
well, he was in England or in Great Britain,
and he was, if you will, a military hero. And I'm trying to think if he was. I think he made his fame and glory in Africa, I believe, but it might have been India. And then the third guy, and you don't hear much about him, Daniel Beard. And he wrote a lot of woodcraft books and early scout books too. And Mark, I don't know if you may have something of his.
Is he an American?
Yes, I believe he is. I didn't look him up, but I'm pretty sure he is. But if you get into scouts to some, like as an adult leader kind of level where you have to study and take classes and things like that. Daniel Beard, there's a lot of awards and things out there that were in Beard's honor. And growing up, I didn't even know about him. I knew about the other two. And the fleur de lis was what Seton thought should be the symbol of the, what he started as the Woodcraft Indians or whatever he called them when he first started over here. And he had his early scouting organization that he had in Canada, I believe was about 6 years before Robert Baden-Powell or Lord Baden-Powell. I think he started the Boy Scouts of England in 1908, I believe, official. I didn't know this until I was studying up on this, but he and Seton kind of had a falling out with Powell. Powell came in and, well, he didn't come in. I mean, he was one of the founders. He started it. But he wanted the Boy Scouts to be very militaristic.
Right.
And the Boy Scouts are based on a lot of the same principles, patrols and groups and how they're divided and how they do things and how things are supposed to be done and just in general. But he wanted to make it much more so. I mean, he almost wanted them to be like a secondary militia or a guard in a way. And Seton, he wanted it to be about camping and birds and animals and that kind of stuff, which is why I was in it. and so he eventually left the Boy Scouts of America as he was one of the first board members they had. He and Beard and Powell, and he actually left the organization because of that. So even back then, the Scout organization had controversial things going on, and Lord knows they have since then from time to time.
And Tina asked, was Seton Hall named for him? And I don't think so.
I don't think so either, Tina.
That's a name of some kind of, royalty in Scotland. Seton is, and I don't think it was. It was like, I don't know if it was a royal family or just a very influential family, but I don't think Seton Hall has anything to do with Ernest Thompson personally. And maybe you can find that out real easy. But
I was trying it, but Fat Hand here won't.
If you're Googling, if you got on the Wayback Machine and you're looking up, would you quit licking my moccasin?
Seton Hall University is named after Mother Elizabeth Ann Seton, the first American-born saint. Didn't know that, and because I don't know much about saints. Imagine that. Me not knowing about Christian saints. The first American-born saint, Diana Bishop. It's no lightning, I don't think, today.
It's named after a nun.
Named more, yeah. Not just a nun, but a mother.
But a saint.
Yeah, and a saint. That's pretty.
She got up to the. She became the general.
So anyway, that's answered that question, Tina. So actually, I'm glad you asked, because I've thought about looking that up before, but at this time I didn't even think about it. So I got it next. My next slide is.
Wonder if she was any kin. I bet so.
I bet so too. In the overall. That's what I was going to say a minute ago. I bet Seton Hall was named, but now we know who it's named after. But I figured it was named after that family, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Oops, that's not the right.
Which
slide.
were some kind of Scottish nobility. They weren't royalty. They were nobility, I guess would be a better term.
So here's the first copy of the Boy Scouts of America handbook. Now this doesn't say American, but this was the first one that showed up over here. There are copies out there that look very similar to the front of this that were the British originals in 1908. And Lord Baden-Powell, only his name is on those. And I noticed that later it looks like his name was the only one on the American ones too, which I thought was kind of odd. I've read different things about him as far as his military history goes. But anyway, I like this copy because it's got Ernest's name on top. And then Robert S. Baden-Powell. And what that one doesn't have is Dan Beard's name on it. And the book beside it, the Book of Camp Lore and Woodcraft, was a book by Daniel Beard. And he's an interesting guy, but there are scout books, manuals that have his name on it too. And I just thought this was interesting, the kind of thing Ernest Thompson Seton might have got credit for in some outdoor magazine. And he did a story about eating a banana and how it was good to take one along for energy. I never would have thought about, I don't know, I guess I just don't think about people in that time period eating bananas. But of course, that was during the banana wars, kind of about that time.
What's a Unifruit banana?
What is it? The Unifruit's the name of the fruit company.
Oh.
In this particular case. and it says a product of the United. It's the United Fruit.
It'd be like Del Monte bananas. Or
Yeah,
something.
right.
Yeah, got it.
I mean, this was such a huge bit. There's a whole history. I mean, we sent troops down into Central parts of South America all about these banana wars, literally.
Chesty Puller.
Yeah, for example. And I just put this up here.
Good night, Chesty, wherever you may be.
This was a copy of one of his earlier books, and I have this book, but I don't have that cover.
You got them right there at hand.
I got them out because I wanted to have them here. And see, I'm not really picking up the heavy ones. And I don't know how they all got over here. I'm sure I did not carry them over here in my damaged hand. Well, I've got another book. Oh, here it is, right here, right in front of me. This book. And this one is one of the ones I've got that's got Seton-Thompson.
See it. I can't see which one it is.
Oh, can you see that?
You need to lift it up a bit. A little closer.
Well, let me see it on the screen, then I can guide it better. Well, where are you? There you are.
If I declared him the same.
Were you able to read that?
Put that back up there again. I was reading comments. I can't see it. I still can't read it. Just read what it is.
Well, it's a biography of a grizzly. It's the same as that one over there.
Yeah.
Except that version.
I have that book.
That version over there, it says Ernest Thompson Seton, and mine is that's one of my
Seton-Thompson.
And I don't know what year this book. I was looking through this book, and I believe this is one that I couldn't find an edition date or name on. So I'm not sure how.
It will be early.
Do what?
It's early.
Yeah, it's early.
Might be a first edition, buddy.
Well, that's what it doesn't say it's a second edition. So anyway, and then I've got another one that's called The King of the Grizzlies, which I think these two are more or less the same. That's a more modern version. And then, of course, Monarch, the big bear. This is actually a different bear, but all three of those are, kind of fun to have.
The trilogy.
Oh, let's see here. Now, Mark, I have a question for you.
Yes,
the page on the left that you see before you.
That's out of Two Little Savages.
That's out of Two Little Savages.
That's how Yan could identify the ducks afar.
According to information that I read in this last few days, because of these drawings right here, and a few others gave Troy Peterson, as in the wildlife guide guy.
Yeah.
Apparently he took a lot of Ernest Thompson Seton's art, and that's where he got the idea how to do his book. That's
exactly where he got the idea from.
That's why his books are hand colored and
and they only highlight the stuff that you need to be looking for instead of all the. I mean, I used to have people come in. Well, I had a hawk fly over my house and it had a brown back, and I'm like, well, what did its wingtips look like? What did it, was it long winged? Was it short winged? Did it have any coloration in the tips of the wing? Was it? And they never looked at the parts that are important to identify the bird ever.
Friend of mine, true story. Friend of mine worked, not that we'd ever tell a story that wasn't true, mind you. I just want to clarify that. A buddy of mine used to work in a motorcycle shop up in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area of the world. And he said he had a guy come in one day, same story, different thing. He needed a clutch cable for a blue Honda.
There you go.
Blue Honda. And he said, well, what, do you know what model it is? No, but it's blue. The guy had no information about what he really needed to know, but he knew it was a blue Honda.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I've got buddies that are car guys that can look at a vehicle from any era, and like that's a 1937 International Harvester pickup truck, and I wouldn't know that from Adam unless I read it on the vehicle, But they know that stuff, and I know that stuff about birds.
Yeah, exactly.
And other creatures, great and small.
I got to address this story here.
They were never going to name Tim a saint.
Well, one, thank you, Carol, for the vote of confidence. But the thing is, apparently, the accusation that I ate the donuts and used the injured hand has got me knocked right off the saint roster.
There were no donuts eaten in this story.
There were no donuts eaten here. I don't know about somewhere else.
I think in Canada, a bunch of donuts got eaten.
What I think too, exactly. So anyway, back to the story. The drawing on the right with the ropes and how to tie knots. Again, what I love about this is he drew this stuff. And this was in one of his woodcraft books, And
look how handy.
I mean, yeah, look how handy.
That second one on the left side of that right drawing, second one down. That's a granny.
Pretty much, right? This is a square
knot.
No,
not pretty much. That's a granny knot, dude.
Well, it is.
What is it labeled as?
False reef or granny. It does say granny.
Okay.
Always bad, it says.
It's always bad. That's the worst knot on the planet.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't tell you how many human beings in my lifetime I have showed how to tie a square knot, and I'm like, this knot will never fail you ever. It's always strong. It'll never fail you. And if you tie it this way, it will always fail you.
When they make a square knot like that third one down, though, I mean, that looks simple to me. I always thought, well, why don't we tie it like that? I mean, just loop it together.
It's always perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just like the guy was handy with pen and pencil. I have an ad for some old winter rims and tires for sale, and I had somebody call me to buy them. They wanted to know if they would fit their vehicle because they had the same size tires. I don't know what Mike said. We didn't get the rest of that, Mike. I told the kid to get their dad to give me a phone call to get the particulars worked out. And they couldn't. They wouldn't find. They wouldn't fit their Jeep. Yeah, you gotta have some information. You just can't call and ask for a clutch cable for a blue Honda, or what's that brown back bird out there?
I saw a bird and it had a beak like this, and its back was brown, and it looked like some kind of hawk, and
it flew.
I went to more than one call where they would say, there's a hawk sitting on my car. and I would go there, and it would be like a purrwill or a nighthawk. And I'm like, well, that's not really a hawk.
Not a hawk at all. It's just happens to be a name. John, knots are important. You know what? I'm going to start a list of.
Knots are important in fishing.
All my lists of things. I'm going to start. Words are important.
Knots are important.
Language is important. Knots are important.
Punctuation's important.
Punctuation. Because we've discussed those things over time, that I need to make that an official list of important things. Wait a minute. Tim admitted that he ate all the donuts. I didn't have any donuts. I stand firm on that. I didn't even get one. Not even one.
Maybe you can never trust a Canadian. They're supposed to be nice, but maybe
they're supposed to be nice. Yeah. So you know what the picture on the left is from?
Yeah. If you kill any songbirds, I'll break out the rawhide on you.
And that's from this book. This is Two Little Savages.
That's from this book, Two Little Savages.
Mark refers to it as the Bible.
That's the Bible.
Which he bled in the other day. Interesting story. This is true. We were working on this. I mean, I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks.
I'll just show you proof that.
Yeah, there's the blood.
I bled in this book the other day.
So I was talking to him, and he sent me this picture and said, "Look what happened." And he was Flint. I guess you were napping Flint.
Well, I was napping this godforsaken substance, which is obsidian.
Obsidian, like glass.
It's one of the sharpest substances known to human beings, actually, still, even in these modern times. And boy, I cut my finger good.
The odd thing about it was the day he sent me that picture, I too had been reading Two Little Savages. We'd both been in the book, so it was just funny that it happened all at the same time. It was a sign.
It was a sign.
Do you remember ever seeing this sign, talk for Indians or Ottawa, that's on the right? I thought that came out of Two Little Savages.
It did not.
But it did not. No, I remembered after I looked at it, but that's
I don't know that public. Is that one of his?
Yeah, it's one of his, but I can't. Let me see. Hang on a minute. Let me see if I put that in.
I don't have that document. Who could know that reading would be so dangerous? Well, when you're reading, because your electric was out, and you're reading your favorite book, which I call the Bible, which I've been reading since I was literally 7 years old, probably. And I read it at least once a year, every year. And when you're reading that and you're not paying close enough attention to what you're doing with your hands, you can get cut sometimes. It's just the way it goes.
Just the way it is. You go fishing, John, sooner or later you're gonna get a hook stuck in you.
This is the rock that I was chipping stuff off of, and there's blood all over the top of it still. It's a biohazard, this rock is. What happened to you?
Just had a little moment there. Oh, so anyway.
Of contemplation?
I haven't had, I don't know, maybe I'm hadn't had anything to eat. Maybe I'm having a sugar drop here. But bear with me.
Don't be doing that.
So the page on the right, and I did make a note on this, of course, the Two Little Savages drawing, and the one on the right with the sign language is from a page from book called Sign Talk of the Indians, Doubleday printed, but it was a Seton book. He wrote it and did the drawings. So that's, but it was Sign Talk of the Indians. I've never seen that one.
I've never seen that book.
I had a picture here I want to show you before we here in a minute. You asked me about something last night, and I think I found something similar to what you were telling me about black and white drawings that were colored in or color looked more like a photograph.
Yeah, so that illustration on the left side there looks almost like a photograph. I mean, I'm not sure how he did that work, but it looks more like a photograph than it does a drawing. And there are plates through the whole book. I mean, I'm on the same, that's the same plate right there. But I have an original, a first edition of this book, and they're all just pen and ink drawings. Exact same illustrations, just pen and ink drawings.
It's I don't know if mine's like that or not. I've got to go back and look at mine.
You could line it up. It's perfect. I'm sure he redid those drawings at some point, but he used something to make it a perfect match,
Bear with me just a minute.
Brenda, take him a donut right now.
Well, I don't have a donut, but I do have a peppermint.
No, I just said, Brenda, bring him a donut.
If she's hiding donuts down there, I'm gonna get her.
Bring him up a cream horn. One of the better pastries.
Is that a drawing of Tim, Mark, and Phil in the early days? Could be.
Actually, that would be Tim, Mark, and my dad.
Dad, yeah.
Saying, if you kill any songbirds, I'm going to use the rawhide on you. Only he said rawhide because he was an Irishman. But
Carol, Tim, and Mark could very well cut themselves because they always have a knife out to cut the donut. I'm known to use my knife in public places. That's what I carry it for, and
people get worried when you whip out the old pocket knife,
and that's their problem.
And that's their problem. They don't understand it's just a tool.
Tina had a question about English sparrows there.
But not English sparrows. Not my. Oh, yeah, English sparrows don't count as songbirds. He would have been okay with that. That went down the wrong tube.
Thank God it's not hot salsa.
Yeah.
Dang, sorry guys. Okay. And these are just to illustrate some of his drawings and things. This is another picture from Two Little Savages.
Get out of here, or I'll boot you.
Hang on, guys. I'll be right back.
So those are the same two boys that were shown in the previous plate that had at the teepee.
But a different guy.
And the guy in the broad brim hat, ooh.
Oh, sorry.
The guy in the broad brim hat is the son of the man that said, if you kill any songbirds, I'll boot you or I'll use the rawhide on you. And which is how my grandfather talked to me about, like, you don't actually, he broke my BB gun and made me eat all the songbirds I had shot.
Oh, oh.
Some of which were not good, but I had to make a fire. I had to make a fire and cook them over a stick on a stick. Mom's dad, and he didn't believe in killing songbirds ever. And the gentleman out that's coming out of the cabin with the hound dog, his name is Caleb Clark. And if I'd had a boy early in my life, his name would have been Caleb.
I think I'm okay, Tina. I'm not positive. Brenda, the coffee today is a little weak. Don't know what we changed. We're struggling with getting coffee.
Come here.
I don't know what we're
What do
doing.
you mean you're struggling with getting coffee?
Not getting coffee, but getting it right. I just haven't been able to we've been trying to, I can't grind it right now, so she's helping me out. But that's not the problem. The problem is I can't seem to get my coffee blend right, or how much to put in. I'm just off. And today it probably has the same amount of beans. She probably ground as much today as she did yesterday, but for some reason today it's weak. So I don't know.
Maybe it's just the bean, man.
Well, I've thought about that. That is on my.
I mean, it is a natural product that comes out of the woods.
That's very true.
And it probably varies quite a little bit.
Now I put this picture in here. Let me see if I think I do have some notes on this one. The picture you see with the chase is from Wild Animals I Have Known, another Seton book. But why I did them both is, eventually it became a cover for a book, and this is a later publication. I don't know why I thought I'd put that in there, or why that has any interest to anybody, but I thought it was interesting that, illustration from the book, again, hand drawn by Mr. Seton, and it turns up over here on the cover. At some point in time, I don't know if it could have been after he was long gone. Now the next two images might be, the first one might be, if you have an aversion to cannibalism, you might find it triggering. So just be aware.
Cannibalism?
Not cannibalism, but human consumption.
Humanism.
Humanism. So this is a painting called Triumph of the Wolves, and Ernest Thompson Seton did this in 1892, and this painting's now is one of several that are on the wall that grace the walls of the Seton Museum and Art Center out in New Mexico.
At Philmont.
At Philmont Scout Ranch, which I'm going to talk a little bit about.
It's one of my favorite paintings. It just tells us who we are.
Who we are. It really does.
It would be even better, in my opinion, if that painting had coyotes in it instead of wolves.
Yeah.
Because that's where we're going to end up one of these days.
Coyote belly.
And when we drop over as a species, the coyotes are going to eat us. So
yeah, and then the ravens are going to get our eyeballs first, probably.
Yeah, or magpies, depending on where you live, or crows.
When I first saw this painting, I didn't pay attention to that skeleton. I just thought, I thought it was a painting where they had a deer kill or a moose or who knows. And then I realized,
hang on. We got Mike talking about police and boots, and I'm going to put his head underneath my boots till the police arrive, Is this the dog?
What is this? Mike, you've been playing hero again? Talking about knives, I had a guy pull one on me this week.
Oh, this is a human being.
This is
Mike had to like be the man.
lovely, Mike. Your job is getting more and more like mine was. Tina said. He was having a mental issue, so I told him to calm down or else I was going to put his head underneath my boots until the police arrived. Okay. I thought you said you did put his head under your boots. Okay. And he made sure all the people at the bus stop were, I guess, were safe. We're away from him.
We're clear from him.
So did you get that handle, Mike? You got me roped in here, buddy. I need to hear the end of the story. That's
They need to immigrate to America.
Yeah.
We need Mike down here.
He just whistled at me.
Not maybe not in Wyoming because it ain't any warmer here, Mike, but maybe somewhere warmer.
Warmer down this way, Mike. Come on down. Most of the time. We get just a couple winter days and then it's done.
Well, you guys had like a whole inch of snow, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, some parts we didn't have it here at my house that I know of. I didn't see it, but other people had pictures and I saw, inch on the ceiling.
Oh my God, like everybody's gonna die. There's an inch of snow on it.
Yeah. Well, it came during the night, so it wasn't a big problem. Not sure about that, Mark. Look what happened at New York City. Okay, that was one I had up. I was trying to see if I had something else written. That's where I went. I was trying to pull that up. Hang on a minute. No.
And if I squint my eyes the right way, I can turn them into coyotes. But I know they're supposed to be wolves.
Okay, so now the next one is another one that he did. Now, and these were all in the same. This was called The Pursuit. And this one's in the library also in New Mexico, Philmont Scout Ranch. And these two get a lot of attention. And the guy where I got this information felt like Seton should be feel vindicated now finally. And that's the way with artists. You don't get your accolades until you're dead. Because he painted these in 1892 and 1895 and actually thought he was going to get, a positive response on them. And in his lifetime, other than amongst, I guess, a certain circle, it didn't go anywhere.
Well, and they were, you can see sled tracks in that.
Yeah.
And the wolves are obviously chasing a dude on a sled.
Yeah.
And dogs. And for decades, our folks said wolves never hurt people. Well, that's not quite the case sometimes.
Well, yeah.
It's like every now and again, especially sled dogs. Maybe they wouldn't bother the human, but they were darn sure going to bother the sled dogs.
Yeah. That, it's how was I going to say that? I'd have to say that I've probably been pretty much an advocate of having wild things like wolves and bears and things out there in the woods. Because, to me,
recognize they can be a problem.
Oh, sure.
They can treat you like any other critter.
Well, I figure if I'm in their habitat, then I'm probably going to get what I deserve in that regard. That's just me. I lost my cursor again here. Hang on a minute. There it is. So anyway, those are a couple of his more famous paintings. And then I mentioned that these were at Philmont. This is a map of Philmont. Over the years, one of the owners of the Phillips Petroleum Company gave a lot of this land over to the Scouts. And he also had some land out in New Mexico and lived out there and died out there, I believe. I'm pretty sure he did. I say that like I don't know, and I remember reading it yesterday, but
he did.
But I just stuck these in there, and that photograph in the upper left-hand corner, it has a picture of a very young me standing out there in the middle of the desert at Belmont Scout Ranch.
Don't see it.
Oh, you don't? Oh, no, you don't see it because I don't have it up there. Now you should.
How can we zoom in on that?
I don't know if you can or not, but I can promise you the guy back in the upper right-hand corner is yours truly.
The young Timothy Donald Pruitt.
Yes, it is. And in that photograph, there's I guess there's 3 of us that were out of the same scout troop. Well, actually, most of the rest of the guys might have been out of another one.
That was in the good old glory days, like the scout. Look, you got broad brim hats.
Yeah. Not the military style.
No.
Although they did some they use that more out there now. If you get a hat, these were ones that we got. They were good hats. I wish I knew whatever happened to mine, but yeah, they were good to have out there because they kept the sun off your head and your neck. Pretty decent hats. Anyway, that's 1972. That photograph was taken.
And we were back to that same spot in
mid-'80s.
Just west of there in the mid-'80s, and we're eating rattlesnake.
Eating rattlesnakes, we were. I'm still catching up here just for a minute.
Catching collared lizards and eating rattlesnake. Upper right, Carol.
She talking about the photograph?
Top row on the right side, that's Timothy.
Yeah, if you can see my cursor, this is me right up here.
And I'm not there. I was too young.
Mark wasn't here. This was pre-Mark for me, by a few years. You guys were probably living in Montana. No.
Which year was this?
72. Was your dad out of the Marine Corps yet?
We were still in Ohio. Yeah, Dad was just fresh out of the Marine Corps. So, yeah, we were living in southern Ohio when that would have happened.
Well, anyway, Tina, I'm the one.
And I felt a significant disturbance in the forest at that time, too.
I can probably pull this photograph up in a minute and make it bigger separately. I'll do that. And what's next? This is one view inside the library there at Philmont. And when I was there, he didn't write all these books, but these books are all related to outdoor woodcraft and scouts and that sort of thing, and natural stuff in general. But they have a very nice collection of his work, and it's dedicated to him, of course. I've got a couple of links here in a minute. Interesting thing, the reason I put this Ukrainian thing on there wasn't just to advertise that again, but at the bottom of all the Seton pages, that's on there. That's they apparently have taken a stand on that publicly. Now, again, I can probably show you that in a minute. These links are good links. Should be. Ernest Thompson Seton.com, the Seton Institute.org. And this one at the bottom is a blog spot. I can't remember if that's the one. That may be the one. Yesterday's papers. Yeah, these are articles out of old magazines and newspapers and things like that. And that was a new source for me. I've probably seen that blog site, but I haven't ever used it. Anyway, those links should be hot for anybody that wants to click. I meant to add some more in there, and I may put some more in later. I put this in here because I thought, how curious. Here's the Gospel of the Red Man by Ernest Thompson Seton and his daughter, Julia M. Seton. I think that's his daughter. His wife also did some stuff, but I thought, how interesting. They've got people sitting around in the teepee just like I do.
Exactly.
So I put that in there just for,
I have a copy of that book from 1970.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I don't have this.
Dad and Mom bought me Two Little Savages and the Gospel of the Red Man same year.
Oh, okay.
And the copy of the Gospel of the Red Man that I have is a little small kind of paperback, not like a Louis L'Amour paperback, but a little different shaped. And it's just by him. She's not mentioned at all.
Well, this was obviously one that was done later. It's a commemorative edition. This might be his book and she may have added some prologue or foreword or something to it.
Yeah.
Or they may have added some more illustrations or something. I don't know. I don't have this book, particularly this version.
Yeah, mine's just a little paperback that's about maybe 5 inches tall and 4 inches wide. It's just and about a half an inch thick. It's for my old eyes, it's kind of hard to read anymore because it's small print. But
yeah, I just noticed that down at the bottom of that, there's an introduction in this book by D. Seton Barber, and I'll bet that's a granddaughter or something.
Oh, cool.
I just realized it's got the Seton in the middle, but I bet
she was a Seton.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm getting here by the end, and I just got a copy. This is the front page of my Two Little Savages book, or this one, and you can see that it's well worn here. It's getting to the point where I need to either fix it or just don't use it. And I'd like to
put it up.
Or
put it up. And there's an example of one of those plates that in the later versions of the book look like a photograph. And that's the version of the pen and ink drawing that he did originally.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they did those.
I don't either.
I'm still wondering how he made those, or they, or the publisher, or whoever turned those pen and ink drawings into those deals that almost look like photographs.
Good at what they did, I suppose.
I mean, and my first version of that would have been from 1970. So when Dad got out of the Marine Corps, I mean, like first Christmas, I got like Two Little Savages and the Gospel of the Red Man in my stocking. And I was run from then on.
Run.
Run.
I like this quote. He said, "Every scrap of evidence that you can gather is like fine gold, a new fragment of the priceless mosaic that is a dream of every wise one, more beautiful and amazing than any of our dreams, for it will be the truth." And he's talking about all the evidence you gather over time is how you get to a true answer, or how you find what's going on. In most cases, it's not quick and easy. Oh, he's got another panic. He's got
another customer.
Got another customer. Oh, because the snow's coming down. Yeah, nothing like waiting till the end to panic and get
work snow. He used the term snow.
You said something about color photographs.
No.
Drawings. Hang on just a minute.
I didn't say nothing about color.
Well, you didn't, but you said, well, you didn't say color, did you? I was thinking you had added that into your definition.
No, they're black and white,
They're
but
black,
they're
black and white. Okay.
photographs instead of. I mean, like that one, right? You can't really. There you go. Maybe you can see it. It looks more like a photograph than it does a pen and ink drawing. And I told you I was going to read this poem.
You and I want you to. You want to do that now?
To all of our visitors.
Go right ahead.
All of our patrons, all of our people that come listen to our ramblings. So there was a gal in the book, one of the characters in the book, her name was Granny Denouvel. She was an old Irish Catholic woman. Lived up in the woods in Canada, in Ontario. And she had a poem. She wrote poems about stuff, life, and wisdom. And she has a poem about starting a fire. And she says, first a curl of birch bark, as dry as it can be. Then some twigs of softwood, dead, but on the tree. Last of all, some pine knots to make the kittle foam. And there's a fire that will make you feel you're sitting right at home. I love that. And that's how you build a fire.
And that's how you build a fire.
And it's like, if you want to make a fire in the woods, that's how you make a fire. You don't have to have birch bark. You don't have to. You might not have birch bark where you live.
But, no, I was getting ready to say you may not have it where you live.
Mike darn sure does, and so does Tina, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and so does Carol.
Tina, I did not, but I shall do that. I'm glad you said that, and I will make a note right now. I thought they would work, so I apologize for them not working. I'll put the links in the in the bottom of the show notes when I get done here. So that way I'll make sure they're in there. I forget to do that. And for instance, I used to work for a tire company, and on the days when you would see us spit in the snow, people went crazy coming in to get snow tires. Yeah. Back then, and I used to work in the tire shop. Well, actually, I worked in the warehouse, but they would draft me into the tire shop during this time period because back then, a lot of people wanted studded snow tires. So Timbo got to go stand in the back of this little machine and put studs in tires all day long.
So in my entire life, and I'm knocking on wood right now, the only traffic stop ticket I've ever received in my life was because I was poor and driving back and forth from home to school when I first started college. And I had a set of studded snow tires on my 1968 Datsun pickup. And those were the best tires I owned. And I run them through the winter when you were allowed to use studded snow tires. And then I kept running them afterwards because those were the best tires I owned for that truck. And I got pulled over by a highway patrolman and got fined because I had those studded snow tires on in the summer. And I'm sure it was winding down the highway.
I've driven with them. They're loud. I don't know if there's any.
Well, he could hear them from his car because he jumped out there and chased me down. And you remember Little Red? She'd only go 55 on a good day, and that was it, buddy.
Mark had an early version of the Nissan trucks, or when they were Nissan.
Datsun.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Back when they were Datsuns, he had an early early version of their imported pickups. I don't know when the first ones came over here,
You
but
could lift up the hood and play a game of baseball inside that engine compartment. It had like a Tecumseh lawnmower engine, and the oil filter set upside down up, and you could spin that puppy off every time with your hand. And it had two sediment bowls in the gas line. It was a great pickup truck. I loved that thing. We retired it at 345,000 miles. And I say we because I gave it to my cousin to use for a coon hunting vehicle.
Tina, I don't know if anybody can use studs anymore. I don't know.
That's the only ticket I've ever had, Tina.
Down here, they weren't. I don't remember anybody ever getting in trouble for having studded tires in the winter, after the winter. So the first time I read or heard that you could, you get a ticket for running them out of season, I was amazed.
I was in Ohio.
Yeah, I know that was in Ohio.
I was in Ohio, and they pulled me right over. Like,
and they might have done it here, but I like you, I've run tires, studded tires on different cars way into the summer season.
And I told the guys, like, I'm a college student. I don't have any money.
It's all tires I got.
I don't have other tires to put on. Sorry. And he's like, well, here's your like ticket, and I don't know, it cost me like $50 or some BS, but I'm sure I was hurting the old highway there.
I'm sure.
Like the semi trucks don't.
Yeah, you know what, Carol? I used to hear when I first time I ever went to Ohio, people were warning me about driving up there because of that. I've never gotten any trouble up there, but I was always real cautious.
And there's a lot of them. I mean, I go back to see the folks, and there's a trooper like behind every shrubbery. It seems like I never been to a place like that before. Just
Diana says they can use studded tires up in Canada. Do you know if they have a certain season, Diana? I mean, if you get caught, if you don't remember to take them off by say July 4th or something, they can fine you for it. I'm just curious about that, or they just run them year round? Because I knew people that ran them all the time.
I ran mine all the time.
But again,
that was all the time I ever got caught.
It usually wasn't have anything to do with just you wanted to run them. And I've seen them throw sparks. But oh shoot, what was I getting ready to say? Studded tires. Oh, anyway, getting tickets and things for them.
Brenda's talking about having only one ticket, and it was not stopping long enough at a red light.
Oh, that's not true.
Didn't come to a complete stop.
I'm going to call you on that one, lady, because I know I was there when you got a speeding ticket with me one day outside of Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Was she lead footing it?
Oh, hell yes, she was. And I was behind her, and I was just not paying attention to the speed and just following her. And she got pulled over, and I got pulled over. And I'm pretty sure he wrote her a ticket first. Then he came over to me, and I introduced myself, and I said, "I'm that," and that was the other thing.
Person's husband.
Yeah, and she's got my driver's license as she drove away. I said, "I don't even have ID." And it just so happened that the guy had just pulled me over the week before because he caught me in a speed trap. They had some place they like to put signs behind trees down there. And he said, I give you a ticket. Same. How do you put that? I give you a ticket this week after giving you one last week. He said the judge might throw the book at you. And I said, well, why don't we just, consider this a warning? I'll drive on. And he did let me off, but I'm pretty sure he wrote Brenda a ticket. He was one of them young, smart ass cops too. It just kind of you just get under my skin. The sunglasses and just everything.
It looked like the badass trooper on Cool Hand Luke, the guy that
this guy wasn't that scary.
Shaking the bush, boss, shaking the bush.
Shaking the bush. Oh, okay. So I had 2 speeding tickets, which is an amazing. I'm going to tell you something.
That's a pretty good record, though.
Well, considering my wife has always been leadfoot. She don't waste time going anywhere. So to have only 2 speeding tickets in her life is quite amazing. Or she's talked them out of it. I don't know which.
Well, and the fact that Tennessee, at least they used to, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to just park patrol cars along the highway empty.
Oh, they do that in places. Yeah, they still do that, I think.
Like on Highway 81 and down on I-40, they would just park empty patrol cars, nobody in them. I thought they could at least put a dummy in them. And just to slow people down, like,
right.
Oh, there's a cop, but
we don't have time to slow down, Tina said. Now, Carol says she hasn't had a ticket since the 90s. So there is a story there. And that's when she found out how you have to pay the ticket and your insurance rates go up.
Yep.
She still speeds, but not by much. Okay, Carol, right.
I said it 4 miles over. I know a lot of officers, and they're like, they got a zone. Most of them do. Some of them are jerks about it, but if you're in town, they can be jerks about it. When you're on a mission, you got to go.
Yeah. I guess that's true. Let's see here. I thought I was going to show something else.
We have people from Utah that drive on our highways at over 100 miles an hour, and they are not on a mission that needs to be. Well, they might be on a mission,
but it ain't one that is.
But it ain't one that needs to happen. They sure kill a lot of deer and themselves.
Well, shoot.
What are you looking at?
I was looking for that picture. I had a couple more pictures I actually meant to show.
Oh.
And that I just had on the side, but
you can't find them, can you?
One of them was that picture of me from Philmont. I was going to try to blow it up, but let me see if I can show this one.
That'd be cool.
This was. I can't remember why, but this is a drawing he did that got a lot of attention at the time. I think it has something to do with one of the last wolves in New Mexico, maybe, that was killed back then. He had written a book about this, but that's the drawing.
Yeah, what is the name of that book?
Well, I could have told you before, but I can't tell you now. I didn't write it down here. I was looking at the picture earlier. I don't know. I don't have it, so I don't know right this minute. You know what else I don't need to?
There. See you, Diana.
Daddy, leaving. Bye, Diana. You have a great day too. Hopefully you're going to jinx me now. Oh yeah, well, I'm not trying to. Oh, look at this. I found this on my camera yesterday. And it actually is better than it's not a great picture, but it's better than I thought it was. Let me see if I can show it real quick, just because I can. Boop. Hummingbird sitting outside the door here.
Yesterday?
No. I took it a while back, but I found it on my camera yesterday.
No.
And downloaded it, and I didn't realize I got so much detail in the neck and stuff. I thought they got gone too quick for that.
A juvenile male ruby-throated hummingbird.
Yeah. Well, let's see that other. Oh, here it's in this file. Yeah, here.
The mission was always when Joanna's had a sale at the fabric store.
Okay, here it is. Now, can I make it bigger? I feel like I've had this terrible brain fade. Okay, let me see. You may not be able to see this very well, but this is that photograph in large.
Make it bigger.
I made it bigger as I can get it. And that's me right there. The guy here in the middle of this page name was Mike Luster. I went to school with him.
Look at that hairdo.
Well, yeah, look at it. I mean, most of us have hair similar.
No, I was talking about yours.
Well, I will tell you something. That was cut short for the trip. What I thought was short.
Every one of you have that hair.
I wouldn't do that now. I should cut all my hair off before I do a trip like that. Anyway, that's me.
I was in that year. I was still sporting a Marine Corps flat top.
Well, you probably got it on the base somewhere.
And then Mom and Dad decided I didn't need to cut my hair as often for a while there, and I hated it. I was like, no, this stuff bothers me. So I still cut my hair.
And you still cut your own hair.
It bothers me when I have too much hair on my head.
I'll tell you what, I went through my short hair phase in the last few years ago. I'd always had not that long, but longer hair. And I just one day got tired of it, and I just did the same thing. I had Brenda just shave it off. And, there for a while, I kept it that short.
I keep it on 0 on the sides and then 1 on top. And then I don't care how long it grows on my face. I just don't want it on top of my head. It bothers me. I don't know why. It just does.
Well, if you get used to it being that way. Anyway, what time is it?
And I'm always too hot anyway, so it takes a degree off.
Carol, let me tell you a little story about that photograph. I did not, and all the stuff I got from my mom, and when I say that's because anything that I scrapbooked or she scrapbooked while I was in Scouts or doing that during that time, she had. And I got stuff from her when she passed away, or maybe even before that, she gave some of it to me. But the one thing I did not have was a photograph of that trip. And I got to look, and Philmont's website has photographs of almost every, they called them cruise back then, or group, or they had expedition groups. I think the bigger ones were just labeled as expeditions. I can't remember now. Our group was divided up into 4 crews, and that's how we went. But they've got a picture of every crew since 19. Oh wow! Now I can't remember what year. It's in the 60s when they started, and I don't still have that page pulled up. I'd look at it. But so I got to looking through it, and I thought, man, I got to find that. I know we're in here somewhere because I knew there had been pictures of the trip taken professionally, for us to have as records. But I don't know whatever happened to it until I found that one. And so you can go online, and they're free to print. I don't know if they may not even have a mechanism to buy them. They might. Might be actually you might be able to order them through them and get it printed and sent to you. But I just got it off. But it says right on their site, you're welcome to use them. And so I actually have looked through now and found identified at least two. I think we had 4 crews on our trip. We were on a bus. There was 44 scouts, I think, on the bus. So I guess 4 groups of 11, I think. That might have included the adults. And but I found that online. I thought, man, I gotta have that. That's so I've got a copy on my computer now. I don't have it printed, but
well, that's a good one. That's when you were Tetrox and Bears.
That's right. That's exactly right. One of the first, we had a guy.
You devils.
I think I already closed it, darn it. That photograph, there was a guy sitting in that photograph who had longer blonde hair. He was right in the middle row. And he was what back then they called a ranger. And he
was the guy that was already graduated, and
basically he was working there, and he took crews out like ours, and he stayed with us for the first couple of days to kind of teach us how to camp in desert country, and some of the do's and don'ts. And one of the things, of course, you got to do out there was hang up all your bear bait, as they would call it back then, which was anything that smell, period, whether it was food packets or your toothpaste. Bears would find it and get into it and see what else they could find. Well, they gave us the powdered detergent, and actually we called it Tetrox. And it was supposed to be biodegradable. This was back in the 70s when that kind of thing was just, people were just learning about, the damages of soap in the water system and all that kind of stuff. And so he went with it, and he said, and he explain how to use the soap and rinsing off the soap, and then how to put the soap up so the bears couldn't get to it, and why. Because apparently bears would eat the Tetrox, and then it would give them, let's just say they would have bathroom issues for a while. And he said, so before anybody thinks about it, he said, we do not Tetrox the bears on purpose. Because apparently that had happened a few times. But Tetrox and the bears. I don't even know if that soap, I don't know if that was the real name of that soap or brand they used or what, but I've never forgotten it. Tetrox Bears.
Don't Tetrox the bears.
So anyhow, well, that's the show as I have it. But look, if you're interested in early naturalists or how some of that process happened early on, where things like, what was that?
Did you see that? Did I send you a picture of that?
I don't know if you did. You held it up. I think you did show it to me. Well, maybe you did send me a picture. That's amazing. Where did you find that?
Well, I didn't find it. I made it.
I know you made it, but where'd you get the stone?
So my son, bless his heart, he's always thinking. He went to a yard sale in Green River.
Oh.
And he was buying a wheelbarrow from a guy the guy wanted $5 for it. And it was a pretty good wheelbarrow.
Oh, okay.
And he just wanted $5 for it. And Sam's like, well, I'll give you $5 if you'll let me take some of that stone that's laying over in your rock garden there. And the guy's like, oh, my son was a rock hound and he picked those up in Oregon, and go ahead, like pick some out. You know, you can have 4 or 5 pieces of big chunks of it. This stuff, the big chunks of obsidian. And so Sam's like, he threw that in for boot to Sammy, and he brought those to me. He's like, look what I got for you. And so that's his point. And I've never seen obsidian like that quite
I was gonna say I've never seen
I have
obsidian.
a lot of it that's got like mahogany stripes through it, but not these clear. I mean, you could read a newspaper through that, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Carol, that would be the same stuff we had. It was a powder, and it was to help clean our pots and pans too. But that was what we cleaned everything in.
And you weren't supposed to use that on. You weren't supposed to like lace a piece of bacon with Tetrox and give it to the bears.
Because it do the same thing
to a person. The galloping gourmets then.
Yeah, exactly.
Which doesn't make a bear happy.
No, but bears bears with the trots, you know.
They're not happy bears.
They're not happy. They're not a happy bear. Oh, I saw something else there that I was going to click on too, but I don't remember what it was now. Maybe I did. Maybe that was the one about her that Carol posted.
At the college dorm where I met Danny. Cool.
That is interesting. Now, you're the first person, Carol, I think's ever met that what it was.
What was that powdered scrub? I can't believe it.
Ajax?
Like Ajax. Was it like that?
It wasn't. No, it wasn't that abrasive. I mean, I remember Ajax.
Ajax would take the hide off of it.
It would take the hide off. Ask Brenda what it would do to a car's paint.
Is that something you committed, or did she do
Not
it?
me. Apparently, she did it to her dad's car one time.
Oh,
because it had sat under a tree and gotten sap all over, so she thought she would help. And she washed it with Ajax or something similar and took all
the like 40 grit sandpaper.
Yeah, it had a matte finish long before matte paint was popular. You want to share that, Brenda? You can hop online with us, and I'll let you tell it in your own words. Yeah, I don't do. Yeah, but anyway, Mark, back to your question. No, it wasn't that abrasive. I mean, it did pretty much dissolve. I mean, I remember Ajax. It got soapy, but there was also grit in it. I mean,
it was like lava soap.
Yeah, like
which I can't even find anymore. Or borax, boraxo.
I can find borax.
Which just makes me angry as heck, because like that's the soap that actually will clean my hands. So I use regular soap, and it's like I can't even get the scuzz off my hands with regular soap. And
no, it just doesn't work near that good.
Like 20 Mule Team Baraxo, that was the stuff, or lava.
There it is. I found it.
Tina said to go to Amazon. I could find it.
Well, I just found it at Ace Hardware. Says they sell it. That makes sense. every lava soap. I'm like you. It's the only thing that would take certain things off, and every garage slash tire place I ever worked at or had anything to do with, if you walked into the one of the bathrooms, I promise you, if it was out in the shop, the sink would be black with for guys who'd gone in there and washed their hands every day for 10 years or 20. And there was a bar of lava soap laying there on the back of the sink. That was the only thing that would clean your hands up.
So if I go to a branding and you got the calf scours all over you from days and days, that's the only thing that'll take that stuff off. I mean, it's like you have to have an actual abrasive, or it's not going to come off your hands. I don't give a hoot and a holler about what kind of chemical soap they got or whatever. It's like, if you don't have the stuff that's got grit in it, it's not going to come off.
Tina said her dad used it. He was a mechanic. The only thing I ever used that would take most of that stuff off just, right away. And then of all the other hand cleaners I came out with, like Gojo and stuff, the only ones of those that ever really worked were the ones that had grit in it.
Yeah. Which is why our hands look like this.
Perfect complexion. God, my hands are so banged up. My
son was running a trap line on the river here at the house with the kids. And Grandpa was out there helping. And they were like, here, set this trap. You got them old man hands. You can. And I was like, great, I've won. I got there. Like, Sammy was like trying to set a 110 conibear with his hands, and it wasn't working. And he's like, he threw the trap up to me, and he's like, can you set that? And I set it in like a second and a half. And I'm like, I've been doing this since I was like 7. Which is why I've got these stupid old man hands.
Tina says she hasn't used lava soap in 5 decades. She says dry and flaky hands are just old age, Mark.
Well, mine are like, the old men used to say you'd get horns on your hands in places like, you got horns right here and you got horns right here.
Yeah. Sore bony spurs.
Just like your hide turns into like the bottoms of your feet. I mean.
Well, I've just noticed that some of my fingers that almost look like somebody grabbed hold of them and twisted them. I don't know what I did to those.
I don't have any of that.
Maybe arthritis.
I don't have any band-aids or twisted fingers or.
I see you've got those cloth band-aids on your fingers. I see.
Well, yeah, tough strips. This video is brought to you by Band-Aid brand tough strips.
That's the only thing that stays on long.
Which I have sitting right here.
There you go.
with the peroxide in the box.
You've got it all ready. You've got the kit sitting there ready.
I got a kit right here beside me.
Now, folks, what does that tell you?
But they're the only Band-Aids that'll stay on me.
Let's see. Carol has a question. Anyone remember that soap they had in the school lavatories? It was a cylinder of hard soap, and you turned a crank and got soap shavings. Oh, soap shavings in your hands. I don't remember ever having that.
I don't remember that one at all.
Carol, I've never heard of that. Brenda said the same thing. So was that in Michigan, Carol? I don't know where you grew up. I've never seen that. That's interesting.
So Tina remembers it.
Well, maybe it's a northern tier of states kind of thing. But it's about on Mark's part of Ohio because he's never seen it either.
We had like cans of 20 mule team borax. They called it Boraxo. So
It was the kind that you'd hit the bottom of the container and it would dump some out in your hand.
Yeah.
And then you get in the sink and
But it was like gritty and sandy and it took whatever off of you it needed to be took off.
Oh, Carol, I can about promise you it was the cheapest thing they could get. I'd say that's a given.
Huh. I wonder if it was cool like old animal made soap.
That would be interesting.
With like some lye in it.
Tina and or Carol or whoever, the thing I remember smelling from school was a lot of our old schools were hardwood floors. And every so often the janitor would polish the floors or oil the floors or do something. And they had this sawdust looking concoction that they spread out on the floors and then they'd sweep it up and that cleaned and polished the floors or something. I don't remember exactly. And it had kind of a greasy feel to it. I remember that. But that smell is one of the things I remember from going to elementary school. I mean, I can remember the janitors using that to clean the floors like on weekends or once a month or something. And we'd come in and that smell would be, you'd know that they had done that. I don't know what that stuff was called either. They used to get it in big barrels though, like the kind that are made out of paper or cardboard.
Yeah, it's like a cardboard barrel with a metal band at the top of it.
And they'd scoop that stuff out and spread it around on the floor.
You had to have a screwdriver to get the metal band off of, and then they'd scoop it out and slurry it over the floor, and then do their business.
That's a good one, Tina. I'm not sure about the glue.
Mimeograph. Oh,
that blue ink that they used on mimeographs.
We used to volunteer to do that just to smell it.
Just to smell it. Go in there and crank on the mimeograph.
Go out there and crank on the mimeograph machine just to get that smell.
Just so you can hell. I don't know what that had in it. Some kind of
I'm sure it'll give cancer to a rock.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was like, when I was first started school, I was tutoring bird identification and fish identification. And the fish we had been in formalin for like a bazillion years, and you'd take them out and put them in trays, and you had that formalin or formaldehyde. Some of them were in pure formaldehyde, like smell, and you're like getting that on your hands, and it makes your hands feel greasy, and you can't get rid of that feel for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my fish professor one day, like, is this stuff carcinogenic? And he's like, that shit'll give cancer to a rock. Pardon my French.
Yeah,
that was the quote.
So, you got a quote. You got a quote.
It was William Snyder, 1984 or whatever. That would be the guy.
Carol, maybe that's why I have such an aversion to wintergreen. I knew there was some reason. I bet I do remember that. And of course, then there was also milk of magnesia, or not milk of magnesia, that pink stuff,
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol that had that taste too. Oh God, I hate.
And so did those pink candies you got. Those round pink candies that were. My grandfather always had white ones and pink ones in a paper bag on top of the fridge. And he, when you'd done a good day of work, he'd give you some of those candies, and those pink ones always, to me, tasted just like Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah. Well, I was always a bigger fan of peppermint and/or spearmint. I did not like wintergreen. Still don't like wintergreen for those reasons.
Well, and if you read back to our guy, Ernest Thompson Seton, he talks about in many of his books that smell is the thing that triggers memories better than any other sense that humans have. Like the smell of something will trigger a memory.
I agree. I
do too. Like I'll smell something like, golly, I'm like in 1970 again. Or,
Carol, I think I eat peppermints. I love peppermint. I have for years. But spearmint was always, it might have been my favorite too, because you used to be able to get spearmint gum, and you could also get spearmint and some other, might have been a breath mint, might have been like a search early on, but somebody else used to, but that was about it.
I haven't heard that word in 30 years.
What's that?
Cert.
Oh, a cert? It was a big thing back then.
I know.
I don't even know if they still make them.
I doubt it. Spearmint was one of my favorite.
Yeah, I really like that one. Like I said, I like the spearmint.
Double mint. Mom, double mint. Like they made double mint and juicy fruit, spearmint, and what was the white one? I can't think of it.
I don't. Was this
I
supposed
can't
to be
remember. There was 4 flavors of that gum.
Wrigley's gum.
And Mom said I would be somewhere in the trailer house when we were living on base when I was a little boy, and the gals would come on. There was a set of twins that would come on singing about the W pleasure, W fun. And I would come running from any part of the trailer to see that commercial. And then I'd go back to doing what I was doing.
And Carol says the spearmint. Well, Tina said white was peppermint. Tina said spearmint was white. What was green? They had a green package, a green label package. I thought that was
in your house. I do have I have Tim's coat. It's hanging on my rack right out here.
I'm probably going to have to get you to mail that back, apparently. I'm not going to get out there to get it. That's my only winter coat. I told Brenda the other day, I said, crap, I don't have a coat. It's getting cold and I don't have a coat.
You're just going to have to get another wool shirt on then.
Well, yeah, I could do that. I have to do that, but
you probably got a capote there somewhere. Green is double mint. That's right. That's the one spearmint.
Okay, green was double mint. Okay.
Yeah. And yellow was juicy fruit. And white was, I don't know.
Well, peppermint or spearmint. And do you remember getting
it wasn't spearmint, that was the green one. White.
We're getting down. We're in
the weeds now.
Rabbit hole here about candies and stuff. What was I getting ready to? Like cloves, and there was clove gum.
Oh, Jesus, no.
Yes, there was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Like Grandpa would take me to the bar with him, and there'd be clove gum and God, they were awful. Clove gum What was that other one? Can't even remember.
I can see the package of
I
it.
can too, but I can't read the name.
Me either. Need new glasses, I guess.
Clove.
Blackjack. Yeah, I remember
Blackjack.
too,
Blackjack. That's
I don't remember what it tasted like. Was it
it was
licorice?
awful. They were both awful. Beeman's.
Yeah, I think Beeman's did make clove chewing gum.
Ugh.
Or it was one of their flavors, or they had it.
And it'd be like Grandpa would take me and Tommy and Brad into the bar with him and go sit down and yonder on that end of the bar, and here's some chewing gum.
Well, Carol,
that's where he taught us how to whistle at the girls.
See, grandpas are good for lots of things.
Yeah, none of them are handy. I mean, they were handy. Blackjack was licorice. Yeah,
I thought it was.
It just tasted just like black licorice, which I hate.
Brenda, remind me what this is. Did my mother like black licorice, or did she dislike it? Because I'm thinking she was one of the few people I ever knew that liked black licorice. But I could be wrong.
I loved red licorice, but I hate black licorice.
I've never been a fan. I just I don't like that. Did you ever use Chuck likes it too? Something, one of those. Did you ever use well, this is getting far afield. Did you guys ever use clove oil for anything with fish, anesthetizing fish or anything?
No,
because some people do use it, and I tried to use it one time to get some unwanted fish out of my aquarium, because it said you could put a couple of drops in your aquarium and the fish would, just kind of float up, and you could scoop out the ones you needed to get rid of, and then the others would wake up. It wasn't like it was a permanent thing. But I found out that in a saltwater tank, it killed every damn thing living in that tank. And I just put a couple of drops in it. I mean, my inverts died, my fish died.
Really? Just a couple drops of it.
Yeah, well, literally, I mean, it was a small dose per gallon.
But it was a saltwater tank?
In my case, it was. We were trying to we had some blue damsels in there, and blue damsels are great starter fish for people with aquariums, because they're really pretty, they're eye-catching, and they're pretty fish, but they're also hateful damn fish, and you can't hardly put anything else in the tank once you get some in there. They take over everything. And are real aggressive towards any other fish you try to put in the tank. And so we were trying to get rid of our damsels so that we could put something else in it. And yes, we rebuilt it later, but I wiped it out. I mean, I read everything I could find on using cloves as a that word. I always want to say antiseptic, and that's not right. To anesthetize those fish, and I killed, and they all died. I killed them all. I killed every living thing in that tank, and I'm not kidding. I'm saying every living thing. I might even, if Brenda, do you remember? I might even killed them.
Maybe saltwater option's a bad deal to go with the clove.
Well, maybe it was. But that's where I was getting the information, was from people supposedly had saltwater tanks. But But I read just the other day, the reason I asked you if you guys ever used it when you did fish collections is I read just the other day that some people use clove oil, or did, for that same purpose. In larger groups of fish, and I never knew anybody that used it.
I'd never heard of that. We had
Carol,
my buddy had a 100-gallon tank with a bunch of freshwater fish in it. native fish, but he had one carp in it. And we actually removed all the freshwater native fish, and then he put formalin in the tank, which was to help clean the tank, and the carp was still in there. And he spun around, and obviously wasn't having a good time. And I got him scooped out of there and put him in some water, and we figured he was done for.
Yeah.
Put everything back in the tank after we got it cleaned, got it all, going again. And then he's still alive. He's still over here swimming around, breathing. Throw him back in there, and we did. And that sucker growed up to like this long.
Formalin didn't hurt him.
He sucked formalin through his gills, yeah, I'm good. I'm one of those fish that can take whatever you throw at me. Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, whatever.
Oh, me. Carol, when's your football game start? I know Michigan is playing. This is the big interstate rivalry today for some team. Michigan plays Michigan State. I know that. I saw that listed somewhere.
Is Ole Miss playing Mississippi State?
They may be. I didn't,
because I'll have to record that if it is, because
he's on the boat.
Especially if Mississippi State beats Ole Miss, my son-in-law will come unglued.
I know Tennessee plays it, I think, at 1:00. I saw the NCAA schedule this morning because I was trying to figure out when Tennessee played, and I don't remember about Miss. That's how come I knew that Michigan State was playing Michigan. Okay, NCAA football schedule for this week. I guess that's this week.
Are you giving us in Eastern Standard Time?
Well, I would. Yes, that's Eastern Standard Time. I've spoken so far.
What time did you say Tennessee was on? 1?
1:00. Yeah, it's pretty soon.
So 11:00 my time.
You asked me Mississippi. No, that's
Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I don't know if either one of them are playing.
Yeah, that's the wrong week. Well, I guess it says week 11, but that showed Mississippi State playing Tennessee, and that's not true. Ohio State. Oh no, the Ohio Bobcats are playing Kent State. Kent State's the Golden Flashes.
That great mascot.
Hey man, that's early November. That's not right. And that's not right. Well, shoot. Well, that's weird. I looked at it this morning, but all these I just pulled up are not the right schedules at all. Oh well. Anyway, Ohio State next week. Well, that'll be a big. Well, I guess that'll be a biggie. I don't know how much ramifications that has anymore on standings. I don't know where Ohio
Which State. One? Ohio State?
Yeah, Michigan plays Ohio State next week.
All my maiden aunts will be watching that game.
Okay, so Carol, then they're not playing Michigan State today. I've looked at the wrong schedule this morning. I was half asleep. If that's the case, and I have no idea when Tennessee's playing. 3:30, we're playing Northwestern.
I should try to hook up Carol with my maiden aunts and have them watch the Ohio Michigan game together.
Oh, that would be interesting. Why am I getting all
They'll be nice. Probably feed cookies. Where'd you go? What happened to you?
Oh, no, about killed everything.
You just about keeled over?
No, I hit the wrong button there. I was trying to back out of that schedule, and I hit the wrong back button.
I'm getting a bunch of texts right now with pictures of my oldest grandson, and the whole family's trying to keep him alive. One of them said I only had to dive out into traffic to retrieve him once.
Oh no!
And he just wandered. He's like a poor little boy from Wyoming that doesn't have to worry about traffic.
So he just steps out in the road.
He just steps out in the road, like, Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Kay, I meant to say hi earlier. I did see you come in, but I was yakking, and then I forgot to say hi.
Okay, said next week's rival week.
Well, that's probably true because Tennessee plays Vanderbilt next week too. And while that's not the rivalry it once was, I guess it's still an interstate rivalry.
I would think anytime they played Alabama.
Oh, that's a much bigger rivalry, yes. That game means something. Years ago, that was a big deal between Tennessee and Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt actually had a powerhouse football team, and I'm talking early 1900s here. And they were interesting thing is that both of their coaches were former military. Had Colonel Nayland, that is what they called him here. Might have been Robert Nayland. The stadium's named after him. He was a colonel, and I can't remember the commandant at Vanderbilt. But I just thought it was funny that both of those teams, back when the heyday of that kind of football, both had military coaches. I don't know if that had anything to do with how they played football, but
God dang guaranteed. Carol says that Owen's getting life experience. The problem is, Carol, he kind of wanders through life, bumping into stuff.
He's getting a lot of bruises with his experiences.
His entire life, basically since he's come out of the womb, he's had a bruise on his left side of his forehead for his entire life.
This is the kid that Mark refers to as the see-through boy.
And he's such a wonderful little human being. But he just kind of wanders through life. Everything's golden,
Well,
he's the most accident-prone child I've ever met.
This is the same child who used to throw himself off the head of the rocking horse. Mark
just right over the rocking bull.
And watching bull riding, and this kid at the age of 2 or something was just getting bucked off there in the living room.
And hitting like the corner of the TV stand or whatever on the left side of his forehead always. He leads with that. So
he leads with his head.
He's got a big old noggin, and he leads with his head. But he always turns to where the left side gets it.
Reckon why that is. Just
I don't know, but this reaction. And my mother was giving me a hard time. I was like talking about Owen like having a lump on his head all the time, and she said, "You did the same exact thing." When we lived in at Pendleton, we lived in a little military trailer park, and they had the people that owned the trailer park had a newsletter they put out every week, and one of the versions they put out said, "And let's celebrate that Mark Zorn's, like, for the first time since he's lived here at like 9 months, doesn't have a big knot on his head.
Carol, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate you being here. It's been fun and a pleasure this morning. So thank you. And you have a great weekend. If Michigan's playing football, I don't know who they're playing. Northwestern.
I hope they whoop up on Ohio. So just saying.
I'm sure that their season hasn't gone exactly as they hoped. I don't
tell my aunts I said that.
You have to run into them.
I'll never get fed back there ever again.
Oh me. Okay, you said South Carolina. So who are you calling your team? Oh, Clemson. You're Clemson. That's right. I forgot about that.
Clemson.
Tina says, so you're saying your grandson comes by it honestly. Well, technically no, Tina.
Yeah, he's not. He would be technically my step grandson.
Yeah.
But he's an awful lot like his grandpa, which is weird. Is it nurture or nature?
I got a feeling nurture has something to do with it. At least in this particular case.
I wish he was more horsey. I would. But maybe he will be.
He's still got time.
He's got plenty of time.
So, Tina, I guess in a way you're right. It's not by blood, but yeah, he gets it honestly.
He gets it honestly. And his daddy could be my son. He gets it on both sides of the family, so that's too bad.
Oh, guys, well, it is time to hit the dusty trail. Or in this case, it may be wet. I can't tell what it's doing out there right now. Hope it don't rain. Well, the sun actually came out a little bit, but I think it's supposed to be cloudy all day today. 0 chance of rain. And tomorrow it's supposed to rain. No,
it's flurrying here, so you could have that.
It's flurrying in there now.
It's flurrying here right now, so you could always have that option if you want it.
Well, here's somebody mentioned snow yesterday or day before, and I laughed because I thought they were really kidding. And then I walked out of the porch here to go down back over to the house the other night, and it was snowflakes were hitting me in the face.
Sweet.
So I was like, that's not. But it didn't do anything here.
Well, you've been talking about not having a winter. Maybe you'll get a winter this year.
Well, we might. It's finally down in the 30s and 40s, so it's sort of like winter.
I think there's a fair chance we're going to get a winter.
Tina says we have a 100% chance of rain here unless it's snow.
Yeah, I think we got a fair chance that it's going to winter here in Wyoming at 7,000 feet. I think we'll have some snow.
Just any day now.
Yeah, like it hasn't already several times.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if my wife is referring to you or me, but she said somebody has been rather long-winded today.
Probably me.
She's rude. She's just rude like that. I hope she's thinking that she's got to bring me a sandwich or something out here in a few minutes. All right, guys. So I'm going to cut you loose.
We got 2 weeks to make up for. So
that's right. That is right. So I'll be here. We'll be back next week. Oh, wait a minute. Next week's Thanksgiving. Well, not Saturday, but I'll be around. We're not doing anything Saturday, but
I think I'm Christmas tree hunting on Saturday.
Where do you go to do that?
Up to the mountain.
Well, that's how far is that? Where you go 45 minutes, miles?
25 miles.
25,
maybe.
okay.
Now, maybe. Yeah, probably 25. We'll be hunting trees on Saturday, I think. Shauna's got people coming in. Sister-in-law and her husband are coming in, and
for Thanksgiving.
One of her cousins, and they're all going to crash here at the place, and we're all going to go. We're going to eat some kind of a meal, and hopefully we won't have quite 30 people in the house, but we might.
That's gonna be full house.
It always gets bigger than what I thought it was going to be. So, but we're gonna have the in-laws in for the brother-in-law and sister-in-law in for the weekend, and it'll be good to see them, and Shauna's cousin from California, he's coming in, and I keep trying to get him out here to go in the good weather to go fishing, but I haven't been able to get him in here at that time yet. So,
well, keep trying.
Oh, I will.
All right, guys. I'm gonna cut you loose, but we'll see you next week, and I'll be here. I'll come up with something if nothing else, just killing time. But I'll be here next week. I'll make sure I'm up and going. And but anyway, and if you're not hunting trees by then, we'll holler at you. And if you are, then so be it. So you have a good rest of your weekend, buddy. But
all right, brother.
Be careful there by yourself, or mostly by yourself.
Oh yeah, whatever.
All right, see you. Bye, everybody.
Love you, buddy. Later.
Here. See y'all again next week. Bye-bye.